So these two mice right here are two mice that I've been thinking about a lot lately. For the uninitiated, we have the WLmouse Beast X right here, and also we have the WLmouse ULX. Now, I don't want this video to be like a whole mundane thing about how, oh, you know, I like this one more because I spent more money on it, or this one's better because it's cheaper. But I do think it is important for people to talk about why these two mice are actually comparable, and most importantly, while the WLmouse is definitely better. They have almost the exact same specs. I think the WLmouse has a lot of WLmouse exclusive proprietary tech in it, but I do know it is comparable to the 3395. They have pretty similar battery lives. I did not notice a single difference between the two of them. They're both hyper light mice. I think there's literally like 2 grams of weight difference between the two. Scroll wheels feel about the same. They both use 100% PTFE feet, while this one uses full-size skates. These are dot skates, but they're both PTFE feet. Identical shapes. This is the medium ULX. This is the medium Beast X. And yeah, there's not a single thing about these two mice that don't feel near identical. Side buttons feel identical. Clicks feel almost the same. The clicks are a little bit better on the ULX here. Let's talk about why I think the WLmouse is better. Not only my opinion, I think this is objectively just the better mouse. Now, first off, this mouse has a few things that I would say are annoying. For instance, the holes are bigger on this mouse than they are the WLmouse, and that is slightly annoying. However, they're all nitpicks. There's not a single thing that you will find wrong with this mouse if you don't go looking for it. To the layman, this is the perfect mouse. To somebody who is a mouse enthusiast like me, this is a near perfect mouse. Like, there are small things you can nitpick about, sure, but it is as close to perfect as you could possibly get for a mouse. There are some things that the ULX does better. However, the things that the WLmouse does better than the ULX, they're far more important. So really, there are 3 main reasons I have. Firstly, the most important thing is build quality. Now, I have a test that I like to do with all my mice, and I just pinch the ever-loving fuck out of it. So if a mouse fails this test, it might not hold up over a long period of time. Well, this mouse, the WLmouse, is absolutely fucking rock solid. I mean, I'm squeezing super hard here. I mean, I'll get my whole fucking hand involved. Nothing. I don't feel anything. No flex, no nothing. Now, if I pinch really hard here, there is a little bit of flex in the bottom. You may be able to see that flex there. That is there. However, I am pinching really hard to get it to flex, and there's no creak, there's no noise, and the top is unfucking movable. Another important thing is that there's no click wobble either. Super solid here. Yeah, this is just a really well-built mouse. Build quality wise, it is absolutely perfect. Now, let's talk about the WLmouse ULX. This mouse has far from perfect build quality. So I think it's important to talk about the differences between these. This is magnesium and this is carbon fiber. Well, if we show this up on screen here, WLmouse says that they have a solid 3 times more strong construction with this carbon fiber composite than they do with their magnesium mice. Whoa, wait a minute. This is not technically true. What WLmouse has on their website is that their carbon fiber composite material is technically 3 times stronger than ABS, not 3 times stronger than magnesium. It's only 1/3 stronger than magnesium, but we know that that's not true because of what you've seen in the video. And also there are plenty of plastic mice that don't suck this bad. So yeah, technically I got that detail wrong in the video, but WLmouse, you're also wrong. Go fuck yourself. Which anyone who knows this mouse knows that that is not true. There are some pretty awful build quality issues with it. Squeezing right here, I'm getting a decent amount of crunch, and I'm not even squeezing that hard. Right here, I am feeling quite a lot of crunch here on the bottom. But right up top here is pretty solid. But the bottom and top shell is where it gets really, really crunchy. I mean, I am getting an audible that is fucking horrendous. Click wobble is not that bad. I can definitely feel it on the left click though. Right click, pretty solid. Left click, there is a little bit of wobble, side to side wobble there. But yeah, I will not be doing a super hard pinch test with this mouse because I'm fairly certain I will break it. And I've broken mice doing this test before. I'll show up on screen. The HSK Pro Ace is one of them. The Model O is one of them. The Model D is one of them, I believe. But the actual structure of this mouse is cardboard IKEA flimsy. And all I want to say is that if anyone from Final Mouse is watching, if this is the best you can do with the carbon fiber, if this is what is supposed to be 3 times as strong, just don't even bother. Just go back to the magnesium. It was working before. It is time to move on. The second thing that this mouse does worse than the WLmouse is weight balance. Now, this doesn't sound like a huge deal considering these are, what, like 40 grams, 38 grams respectively. So when you're talking about the internals of a mouse and how you want to balance them and which is the heaviest, you're really talking about the main PCB, the scroll wheel, and the battery. Most importantly, where you're putting the battery in respect to everything else. So as you can see with the WLmouse, you can see most of the components are in this area right here. So we have the scroll wheel right there. We have all the clicks, the internals, the controller, the sensor, the power switch, and right there, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there you go. You can see the little white cable going to the battery that's right there. So we have the battery in the back, most of the internals towards the front or the center, and that does result in this mouse being a little front heavy. However, since it is a smaller mouse, I do tend to grip it more towards the front anyway. However, the Final Mouse, it's back heavy. Let me show you why. If we look there, you can see the battery is still at the back. So we have a lot more going on, more in this area than you do at the front. That's going to result in, this is a super dumb explanation, like super boring layman terms, because I myself am a fucking idiot. But this results in the mouse being a little bit back heavy. And I've always found that back heavy mice feel heavier than they actually are. So the G303 is a 70 gram mouse. However, it feels probably like 90 to 100 to me, just because it is a super duper back heavy mouse. Back heavy mice also feel bigger to me than they actually are. For the longest time, I thought that the WLmouse was a margin smaller than the ULX. However, the opposite is actually true. The ULX is a margin smaller than the WLmouse. This just feels bigger because it's weighted worse. This is just such a simple thing to get wrong. I mean, it just takes a little bit of thought, just a margin of thought, especially when you're like a bougie designer mouse brand. Like, how are you going to get weight balancing wrong? Let's talk about how much these two cost, because this is the third biggest reason why I think the Final Mouse is worse than the WLmouse. And I don't want to have value be some big contender reason, because as I alluded to at the beginning, I think it's absolutely cringe to be like, oh yeah, well, let's just get something like the X2 V2 because technically it's $100 cheaper than both these mice, even though both of these mice are objectively better. Performance-wise, they're pretty much identical. We've already covered all the ways that they're identical and dissimilar in other ways. So the price, I think it's fair to compare the price between these two because you are getting two top tier mice, whatever that means, if you buy either one of these. So the WLmouse is in a familiar category, I would say. A lot of mice are in its category. I bought this one for $150, $160. So it's still on the expensive side for a wireless mouse in 2024. However, it is not that expensive. The Final Mouse ULX cost me $267 on StockX. Nifty. Now, it's also worth mentioning that it's $190 MSRP. I guess you could make that point, but either way, do I feel like I'm getting like $40 more out of this mouse than this one? No. I feel like I'm getting $40 more out of this mouse than this one, let alone the actual $100 more that I paid for it. So this mouse just feels like the better value. It is the better mouse, regardless of value. It's more available. It's more affordable. It is objectively better in terms of quality. Performance is exactly the same. Specs are near identical. I mean, you really don't lose anything when you get this mouse. And if you're going to get like the #1 mouse, it's going to be the WLmouse. It is not going to be the final mouse.